Oh, unbelievable. Thank you, love. Appreciate it. Well, that is the infamous Melissa Doppler. So let's try that again. So, ladies and gentlemen, so the funny thing is I've done all sorts of fun prep for today. So it's going to be a ton of fun because I went into this a minute ago. I was upstairs. I said to Mel, well, something will go wrong today. In any case, we should have, yeah, I can see people are on YouTube and Facebook. Thanks so much. Hey, now that we have the mic going and you can hear me, first of all, welcome to Doppler's Gear Garage. I'm Doug, in case we haven't met. I don't know why I'm looking at the microphone, but probably because the microphone is actually on now, thanks to this little foot switch down there that turns it on. And all right, so that said, one of the things we're going to be doing today is spending some time with this very cool MXR Joshua Ambient Echo. And we're going to go through the feature set, the ability to turn tails on or off, add modulation, and a bunch of other things. We're also going to be talking about intervals, which a moment ago you saw me about. So the deal is we're going to be talking about major seconds, major thirds. We're going to be talking about why perfect fourths and perfect fifths are in fact perfect. Major sixth, and if this is a major seventh as it relates to there, that's a minor seventh as it relates to that. But as we're going backwards from the octave, that is a minor second, which we'll talk about, and that's a major second. So we're going to kind of make sense of all of that stuff. And in the framework of all of that, we're going to have this progression. Now, wait a second. Didn't I a minute ago go and say that is a, as it relates to that, that is a major second. As I'm going backwards from there. But I look at going up from the root, that is a minor seventh as an interval, either played as a dyad or as an interval. That is to say, the definition of which is the distance between two notes. In any case, so we got this chord progression that literally is just going. So it's just going one, the octave, and as you can see down on that little diagram down there, that little thing that's right about, I don't know, there that says 0, that indicates octave, and instead of going to the major seventh, we're going to the minor seventh. That, if you compare the 7 notes of the major scale, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, it's taking the 7 and lowering it a half step. Major 7, minor 7. And as it relates to that note there, that becomes a major 7th and a minor 7th. And when I like to refer to these as individual scale degree numbers, rather than referring to this as a minor 7 on its own, I'll be inclined to call it a flat 7. For reasons that we'll get into in a little bit. The other thing is my buddy Anil, gosh darn it, bless his dear soul, lovely guy, he came up with this really groovy progression. that I dug it so much that I kind of threw down the chords. But as I was kind of mapping it out with him, actually in the middle of his lesson, I kind of went, well, this is why it is in the key of G sharp minor as opposed to A flat minor. And we're going to unpack that as well. There are also some really cool questions. And one of the fun things we're also going to get a chance to do is we're going to get a chance to go through some of the cool photos and unpack some of the things that I learned sitting in with the guys at G3. For your benefit, not so I can kind of pontificate about what it was like for me, but more so I can unpack the experience that I had, the things that I learned, what I needed to pay attention to, such that when you're on your next gig or getting ready to sit in with somebody, the things that I learned or things that I've learned going into that, I can share those with you, and hopefully they will help you and your musical journey. First of all, I got some folks down here in the chat, so this is a really good moment to say hello to some folks. First of all, my apologies again that the volume was down at the top. I said to Melissa, like I said, there's always something that's going to go wrong. Sonia, hello, good morning. Chris Alexander, thank you. RJ, what's going on, my man? Anil, hello, thank you so much. That's one of the good reasons. The funny thing is today, I'm like, I'm not going to have my face too far down in there. The guitar is coming through, but no vocal. Thank you, Jerry. I appreciate the vegan rock star. I love that. Oh, wait, full volume up. All right, in any case, Anthony, what's going on? No one can hear me talking, so I've discovered. There we go. Thank you, Tony. All right, hello, hello, hello. Tom, what's going on? Brian, hello. Eric Beard, how are you, man? Great to hear from you. All right, Eric V, Stevie Ray, Eric V, Paul Richard, Dr. Phil, hello, hello. Okay. George, hello. How you doing? Nandini, hello. All right. Good morning to all the Doppler team and all of you all out there today. All right, so hey, Adam, what's going on? Good morning to you. So, first on the menu here, I want to talk about this delay here because one of the things for me that's a big deal is having, first of all, my buddy Brenton asked me a really good question. So I'm going to, first of all, also be answering your questions. And I'm going to try not to take too many left turns in the midst of trying to unpack the main things I wanted to accomplish today. But in the midst of that, if I can keep my eyes on the chat and not get too left-turny, there are some left-turn elements about all of this that are valuable because they're peripheral important points. So the deal is that my buddy Brenton sent through a couple of questions, as did my buddy Chris Alexander. And Brenton was like, hey, what about applying legato? And Brenton's one of my students. And by the way, I'm looking for a few new students. So if you're looking for a guitar teacher, I know a guy. So you know how to find me. So here's the deal. So Brenton is one of my students. He's in Australia. I love working with him. And like I've got right now, he basically goes straight into his DAW, which is a really revealing way to play. There is no hiding from those notes. And my buddy Chris Alexander, who I absolutely love, I kind of love all my buddies who like, unmute your mic. So he sent through a couple of questions. He sends through questions every week, and I don't always get to them, but I can sometimes go backwards and go through them. So one of the ones that he sent through that I just love was about, do I practice with a clean tone? Do I use any effects? The answer is all of the above. But, when I'm working in my lessons with Brenton, he always just has this bone dry tone, and I'm like, it's just the raw, direct sound so we can get it into Zoom very easily. And I'm always super impressed because it's extremely brave to do that because there is no hiding. Holy cow. And it was really interesting as I was doing the little trailer for this last night. I did some little chord progression, and you really realize how kind of like right out there. Those notes are. So with that said, I spend time practicing with different things, and I can tell you, moving forward, I'm going to spend a lot more time just going straight into the DAW. I do have going to get a level drop. Some compression going. And so I will spend time practicing without the fancy pants compressor on. But also adding a little something to it. If I want to have a little something on there, it just does that. Now, getting back to this whole MXR, Joshua, ambient echo thing. Do me a favor, give me a shout out if you like echo in there. Because I got to tell you the difference between... Oh, wait, hang on. Let me turn off the tails. And... That's enough out of you for now. One of the big things that's on my heart for you personally is how I can kind of come alongside you and somehow inspire you in your creative journey, both equipping you with knowledge for your head, things like intervals so your ear recognizes the sound of different things, language like 7, flat 7, intervallically, major 7th, minor 7th. So we have language to describe the sound of these things, but also kind of like literally the moment I hear, that just makes me want to play. And I want to do things that hopefully inspire you to want to play. All right. So this particular echo here, and sooner than later, I'm going to have kind of some cool top-down shot, but I'm kind of slowly adding things. There we go, Paul Richard. Thank you very much. And I am distractible, but this is a great question that if you're on a mobile device is going to be totally tiny. So Adam, I encourage you to come back and ask this a little bit later in the broadcast if you're into that. Brett, what's going on, my man? So the deal is, the question is, how would I approach playing something like a 9-string? And I'm going to actually, gosh darn it, I'm taking the bait. It's at Gary Brower. My guitar tech's having a little bit of work done on it, but I've got this Epiphone 7-string. I'm a member of the Gibson family. So pretty much everything I either play is a Gibson or some sort of Kramer flavored thing because that's what I do now. But the 7-string I've always treated like a 6-string guitar with an extra string. So let's come back to that a little bit later. Adam, feel free to kind of poke me about that in case I forget, because I'm attempting to stay on target, but that was a really great question. And I think I need to make a mental note. Let me unpack a little bit of Doppler housekeeping very quickly. I've been taking this amazing, it's called cash to content or content to cash, but I'm not a guy that's about making money. So the name of that is not about where my heart is, but it's this training with a guy named Omar El Takori. And that's kind of, I spent 2 hours of every day this past week doing this training, learning about strategies for podcasting and doing better things to make better stewardship of my gifts, how I present it, and most importantly, how I steward the relationship I have with the people that I have the privilege of interacting with. So what's coming is the 360-degree guitar podcast. And last night I purchased the domain name 360degreeguitar.com. So I'm really, really excited. What it's going to enable us to do is find a bucket to put a number of the things that I'm passionate about and share interview time with some of the people that share that passion on the manufacturing side. And we get a chance to talk about things like the SDE 3000 EVH, which is going to be one of the episodes, basically building, you can't see it, but over there is a Jose modded Marshall. So invariably, that's going to make it into that episode. And so my friends at Boss are going to be part of that. And there may be some other people involved, but it's going to be really cool. Walking through some of the gear, the technology, the recording, all of these things that relate to what I refer to as 360-degree guitar. And really, it is echoing kind of what happened with me when I was studying with that guy. And so whatever he was playing, I went out and grabbed. If his band was playing, I went out and saw him. If there was something that he was listening to, I made a point of listening to it. And that perspective has been with me since really as long as I've been an adult. So from the perspective of that, that's really what the 360-degree Guitar Podcast is all about. Sharing the things that I'm passionate about with people that are passionate about the same things and going on that journey together. So echo is an integral part of my journey. I remember being in a lesson, and I was probably 15, and Joe Satriani had a DM2, a Boss delay. That was the first delay I ever heard Joe use. And I remember hearing that going, I got to get one of those. And then later he bought, and I had Maxon DM1000, but around that same time, he also brought in a green Echoplex. And you can't, yeah, you can, right there is an EP1 Echoplex. So my passion of delay sounds, it goes back to my teens. So this little guy right here, I'm a Dunlop endorser, and I'm so happy to be part of their team. This, when you want it to be, is a stereo delay. And it's got modulation that you can turn on or off. That is, say, here it is. And then you can add as much as you want. Here's the warble. Now, a minute ago, my buddy Paul there commented about tails. So this little button here, there we go, makes it such that, don't go anywhere. When I turn the delay on and off, the tails stay on versus when the tails feature is disengaged. Come on, there we go. When I turn the delay off, the echoes stop immediately. Love that. This little guy right here, that's what's called regeneration. Let's say I wanted to mess with this a little bit. Put a single echo and make for a really short. So chorus is really a very short delay with modulation. Now, one of the other cool features about this pedal, for those of you that are into this sort of thing, this guy right here, when I hold that for a second, I can go. Oh, hold on. Let me get into tap tempo mode here. I said, let me get into tap tempo mode. So now I can go. And if I set this guy to, let me turn off the second delay there. There you go. So this guy I've got set up for dotted eighth here. So if I go 1, 2, 3, 4. No, I'm out of tap tempo mode. Hang on a second. Let me get back into that. There we go. There it is. Then I guess it automatically jumps out of tap tempo mode. The second delay by default is a quarter note delay. Then it's got this cool octave feature. This guy. So on and so forth. In any case, I absolutely love this delay. Wanted to give you a chance to kind of hear it in the mix. Hang on, let me just jump in and make sure I didn't miss anybody. All right, Sonia, delays are my favorite effect. Totally, Sonia. TC2290, awesome. Oh, you just got, so did you got the pedal? Congratulations. There's a great video of Larry Mitchell playing one of those. Great sounding pedal. The original 2290, there's going to be an episode on the 360-degree guitar podcast about iconic effects. And the 2290 is definitely going to be one of them. Congratulations, Sonia. That's awesome. Tedeschi, no, the Time Machine. So the Satriani Time Machine, a great echo. It's over there. It's green. I got it. Okay, RJ, what's happening here? One delay that always made my jaw drop is Petrucci's delay sound. So, you know, the interesting thing is that one of the people that's going to be on one of those episodes is also going to be Maddie, who I met through, first of all, where is it? There we go. So one of the standalone videos I'm going to be doing is on this awesome box that Maddie actually now has this company called TechWork Instruments. And this is a TRS splitter. So basically, when I did the demo for the Music Man Majesty, without going too far down the rabbit trail, that guitar has the ability to have a stereo out. And let me, yeah, we'll do this for now. I'll probably regret this later, especially if I spill my drink. But basically, I got connected with Matty John's tech through Ernie Ball Music Man because I basically recreated a version of John's rig, including the Axe FX2, which is what he was using. The good folks over at Mogami custom made a cable for me that is a TRS, that is a tip ring sleeve, and fans out into a pair of TS cables so that I could just have one cable connected to the guitar. And a cable like that would cost a flippin' fortune because the Mogami stuff is great, but to have, that's not even a cable they normally make, but because of the nature of the video, they custom made it for me. I'm very fortunate. But basically, Maddie has created this box to basically solve that kind of a problem. A lot of the manufacturers these days, when you use, one of the cool things about this particular device, it's got an expression pedal jack that you can use an expression pedal. Like, well, the Fulcrum box is empty, but Sonia on the stream here came up with this awesome pedal called the Fulcrum. And there's a new version that I have heard could be on its way to me. Hint, hint. And what I love about it is kind of like, I'm going to use it on a desktop like a mouse. I actually had my little Dunlop, whatever is that, Mini XV or whatever the heck that is. But in the midst of today's preparation, I did not have time to connect that. But basically, the expression pedal allows you to change any one of the parameters you might want to control. Most usefully, just the mix. So you're kind of no delay or however little you want the smallest amount setting, smallest mix, less delay. So that is to say, there are times that the expression pedal, when you go all the way back, you don't want to turn when the delay is actually on. You don't want to turn it all the way off, like I just did. You just want less delay. And so an expression pedal allows you to say, hey, you set the position of the heel position, So there's not so much delay. The toe down, as much delay as you want, so you can easily go less delay, more delay with your foot without having to reach down in the middle of a set. In any case, Maddie sent me John's delay settings. And so, long story short, having played with John's delay settings, literally, yeah, John and Maddie together, it's John's ears, and Maddie kind of puts the rig together and as a team. But Maddie is the guy that's patching cables, swapping out speakers when they get blown. John's not back there with the soldering gun doing that stuff because John's out there with the guitar pick. So Maddie soldering gun and other genius things. So he made this box so you can go from a TRS connector, which is basically a stereo output for a box like this. This one doesn't have two outs. It's got a single output that you either run via a TS, standard mono guitar cable, or a TRS, a stereo, if you will, guitar cable. So the point being is this box allows you to go from a TRS to dual TS. And there's a number of applications. I will be making a long-form video about that. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. All right. So there is a question here that I can see happening in the thread here, and I love this. First of all, hello, Jimmy. Yes, so the Joshua works great with the Sustainiac. Yeah, no, and the tails, Paul, it's just such a groovy thing. So there's the question. And first of all, Chris, I adore you, but you know that. The funny thing is I have often wondered, because as I was kind of, last night, I did this little trailer for today, and I was like, okay, well, blah, blah, blah. And for a number of times, I've almost said the Joshua ambient delay. The difference between an echo and delay, I don't know. I'm going to have to do a little research and see if technically there is, because when you think about what an echo is, you're in Yosemite, you go, echo, echo, echo. I'm like 5 years old standing there with my dad yelling with our hands cupped. It was, all right. So echo and delay are probably the same things. And the Echoplex is the best known echo machine out there. I would say this. If you were to group them into echo and delay as two siblings in the same family, generally when we think of echo, it's a little bit more ambient. It's a little bit more, because if you think about an actual echo, in Yosemite you hear that reflection that comes back, but you also hear some of the sound, the ambient sound of the space. Where if you think about delay, I think of digital delay like the SD3000 that's right there. And it's really, the sound goes in and the sound comes out. Now that said, one of the things about this guy, what am I on? I'm on, there we go. I'm going to take the regeneration off here, and let's see. And I'm going to turn that little bit of business off. When it's running at full bandwidth, it's very... The thing about this is kind of the way when you turn up the regeneration. Without going too much further down the rabbit trail, oh, hang on a second. Hey, Jamie, what's going on? Right, it's got a great sound. If you think about all the different delays that are on the market, And if they had the exact same way of taking the sound coming in and having it sound the same way on the way coming out, they would all be the same. So each one of these pedals has its own kind of unique character, arguably because of the fact that everything that goes through the pedal is picking up some of the sound of it. So that is to say, the direct signal probably being impacted a little bit. The affected signal, the unique architecture of it. There's lots of high end on this guy, but it's also a very warm thing. So in that sense, it's not all kind of spanky like some of the digital delays. So for example, the SDE 3000 is a very spanky sounding delay. So if I were to say the difference between echo and delay, echo maybe a little bit more on ambience, same effect, delay maybe a little bit more snappy and trying to arguably be a little bit more digital sounding, echo a little bit more analog, but that's kind of a player's interpretation. Jimmy J, you are the best. And again, RJ, yes, Petrucci's delay sound is great. All right, let's see here. Thanks, David. There we go. This is going to be tiny if you're on a mobile device, but hey, Jerry the Vegan Rocker, while we're talking, I bought, oh, awesome! Come on, high five! Come on, bring it on. While we're talking, I bought the Joshua on Reverb for my son, Joshua. He has 3 albums, writes and plays all the instruments on the first 2 albums. All rock with hilarious titles. Pretty pleased. Wow, awesome. Congratulations. Let me know, as he's had a chance to play with it, how he digs it. Awesome. Sonia, okay, good. Okay. So, and essentially, they are the same, but I think that ambient thing, I'm going to ask my buddy Brian at Dunlop and see what he's got to say. All right, good. RJ, you're awesome. And thanks for your message last night. That was always encouraging when you put something up. You kind of go, is this going to be crickets? And it's like, you're like, hey, can't wait. So awesome. Sonia, I love... Oh, interesting. So Sonia, and that'll be small for some of y'all. I love playing with a delay with just one repeat set to a whole bar, and then I can play rhythm and lead every other bar to accompany myself. I would call it echo, but most echo pedals, and I know that says can do it, but I know you meant can't do it. Awesome. So, all right. Hey, I'm not going to go any further down that rabbit trail yet. Chris, this might be an easy question, but are there any delay pedals that measure tempo and adjust itself to the tempo of the player? So yeah, Chris, that's a great question. So this guy right here, when I hold this down and it steps into what is going to be tap tempo mode, there we go. The lights, they do this flashy dealio. So if I go like this, no, hang on, let me get into tap tempo mode. Okay, and I go. So now, hang on, let me get back into tap tempo mode. There we go. Let's not, hold on. All right, there we go. All right, here we go. 1, 2. Oh, all right, more on effect. Hang on a second. All right. Oh, I get it. You got to have it off. Step on it for 2 seconds, and now we're in tap tempo mode. No. There we go. All right, so in the manual, and I'm obviously incapable of doing it, as I recall, it says you hold it down for 1 second. And so I'm going to set this guy for quarter notes. So now I've jumped, and it obviously defaults to jumping back out of tap tempo mode. So let's just imagine, there we go, I'm in tap tempo mode, so I'm going to go 1, 2. All right, let's see if I'm still in there. There you go. All right. Now we're gonna go. And let me turn it back on. I'm gonna go. All right, it may not be the quote-unquote grooviest sound, but what I'm doing is I turn the regeneration up, I turn the pedal off, getting a little noise now, but it's just basically repeating on top of itself, so I can do what Sonia was talking about. Turn that down a little bit. I'm gonna go back in, I'm just gonna play, I'm gonna play an A minor, no, I'm gonna play a G sharp minor chord, gosh darn it. Turn the mix off. Let me also explain that I've got the tails still on, so when I turn the echo off, the tails are still tailing. Oh, I'm in G sharp minor, sorry. Now I'm going to go into my handy DAW, and I'm going to add a different delay on there so I can have a little bit of groovy sauce on there. Come on. Let's get you on. Let's put you over here. There we go. All right, you're not going to let me do that. All right, you know what? For the sake of time, we can move on. I'm kind of curious why I'm not hearing any delay there, though. Oh, because I don't have any send on those inputs going there. Got it. Okay. Good. So I think, and as Esteban, ¿cómo está mi buen amigo? Hola. Chris, so that's a great question, and so I hopefully answer that. All right, now, gosh darn it. Let's talk about intervals. This is going to be a really, really important jumping off point for a number of folks. And so let's just take a quick moment. Oh, dude. Well, first of all, anytime I can get remotely included in the same sentence as David Gilmour, I'll take that. So thank you, RJ. But yes, that is the vibe, and the things that happen with echo and delay are just cool. They take us someplace, and that's the whole point. They take us back. Sorry. So the deal is that we think about the E major scale, whose notes are E, F sharp, G sharp, A, B, C sharp, D sharp, E. And you can really think of it as 1 whole step to the 2, whole step to the 3, half step to the 4, whole step to the 5, whole step to the 6, whole step to the 7, half step to the 1. And if we think about from the open string to the 2, that is a major second. Hence that little bit of business right down there where it says M2. I apologize if you're on a mobile device and it's tiny, but that's what that stands for. M3 stands for major third. P4 stands for perfect fourth, perfect fifth, major sixth, major seventh, and then the octave. So the deal is, if I thought about these as individual scale degree numbers, I would think of it as 1, hold to 2, hold to 3, half to 4, hold to 5, hold to 6, hold to 7, half to 1. The 1 is E. It's a whole step to the 2, which is F sharp. Whole step to the 3, which is G sharp. Half step to the 4, which is A. Whole step to the 5, which is B. Whole step to the 6, which is C sharp. Whole step to the 7, which is D sharp. Half step to the 1, which is E. Now, one of the things that confuses people, let's just say I start going back, what I refer to as going downhill. They're figuring, hey, I'm an E. I guess the note below there must be E flat. So the deal is, if you either move a whole step or a half step in either direction, that's either a major second or a minor second. So if I'm moving downhill by a minor second or a major second, that's the next scale degree number, and it's going to get the next note name. So if I'm at E and I move a whole step down, I've gone down a major second to a D. If I'm at E and I move down a minor second or a half step, same thing, I'm going to be at D sharp because I was at the 1. I'm moving down to the 7. The 1 is E. I've moved down to the 7. That's got to be some sort of D. Well, we moved down a half step. That's D sharp, C sharp, B, A, G sharp, F sharp, E. That really confuses people a lot. And we want to provide some framework for people to be able to walk on this journey and not be confused. In a little bit, we're going to talk about a Niels chord progression, which is basically a G sharp minor 7 and a C sharp minor 7. And that's respectively functioning as a 6 chord. That is to say, if we took the E major scale and we went up to its 6th degree and we built a chord, it'd be that bit of business. And we went to the 2nd degree, that would be that business. So it'd be 6 chord starting off the 6th degree. And that's going to be a minor chord if you just take if you were to take the E major scale, E, F sharp, G sharp, A, B, C sharp, and started from the C sharp, but you go C sharp, D sharp, E, F sharp, G sharp, A, B, C sharp. That is the C sharp minor scale. And if I were to take the first, 3rd, and 5th tones of that scale and build a chord, I end up with a C sharp minor chord. And take my word for it, if I did the same thing off of F sharp Dorian, the 2, I'd end up with this. So we can think of this as a 6 chord and a 2 chord. Tying back to this whole interval thing, if we can kind of go, think of the major scale as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1. The 6 chord is based off the 6. The 2 chord is based off the, wait for it, the 2. So it gives us a way of always being able to relate to this. So in my little chord progression, that was this guy right here. Nope, that's a Niels groove. Just 1 second. 5, 4, 3, 2. So I'm just going 1, 1, flat 7, and take my word for it. This allows you to then kind of go, well, if I can hear the octave, that is a, and then I can hear that I've moved not a half step down to the, we're going to call that the 7, but we move down a whole step to what I'm going to call the flat 7. When I think about this interval, I call that a major 7th. If I play these 2 notes together, that's a major 7th. Not pretty, but it works. I think about that interval, I call that a minor 7th. And if I think about this interval, again, not pretty together, but in the framework of a larger chord, it works. That is a major 7th, minor 7th. I'm going to call it a 7, I'm going to call that a flat 7. So when we start adding other notes to it, they become uns and uths and erds. So we start adding these other things, but when we're just referring to an individual scale, the numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. If we would compare the notes of the, for example, Dorian mode, where the 3 of the E major scale is a G sharp, the flat 3 of E Dorian is a G, and where the 7 of the E major scale is a D sharp, the flat 7 of the E Dorian mode is a D. We'll get back to that. It's not the main focus of what I wanted to talk about. What I wanted to talk about is if we can hear that that's the 1, the octave, and counting back a half step to the 7 versus counting down a whole step. That allows us to contextualize that without going radically down the rabbit trail. For those of us that know the formulas of the modes, any mode that goes, that has a 1 and a flat 7, you can play over the top of that. So in this particular instance, I did some things with the chords where I not only played individual notes, I added some harmony around those notes, and I started playing, again, if you think about this note on its own, that is a 7. Together, that is a major 7th. On its own, that guy right there is a major 6. And we can just call that a 6. But the thing is, if we play it as an interval, it becomes a major sixth, or as a dyad, it becomes a major sixth. So these guys right here, I'm using the sixth to kind of create a modal framework that basically allows us to kind of, for that first chord there, I'm hearing that as, I would hear it if I had to choose a mode, I would hear it as minor. But I'm just going to play minor pentatonic over it. That guy right there, that is the natural 6. And the 4 means I'm going to jump into, I'm going to choose to do E Dorian there. Then when it goes to this guy, I'm going to go to E minor, because instead of playing the natural 6, I played the flat 6. So I'm going from a minor 6th to a major 6th. But ironically, it's making a switch from E Dorian to E minor. But I'm using these guys to create color in the progression. It sounds like this. So the point being is that the ability to hear how an individual note is functioning in a key by being able to tell its intervallic distance from the root allows us to say, hey, that's a flat 7. You kind of go, well, which modes have a flat 7? Well, does major? No. Does Dorian? Yes. Does Phrygian? Yes. Does Lydian? No. Does mixed Lydian? Yes. Does minor? Yes. Does Locrian? Yes. So literally everything except for the major scale and the Lydian mode will fit over this chord progression. So let me just do a little something in Pro Tools here and switch back to the original progression. And let's just hear the bass line without that kind of counterpoint guitar thing that's making it change modes. And let's get you over here doing this. And let's hope the Pro Tools is going to behave. 1, octave, flat 7. All right, so here goes Dorian. Phrygian. Mixed Lydian. Minor. Locrian. That's enough, boys. I made the mistake of pulling off to the open B. It should have been a B flat. But the great thing about understanding is how these things are functioning together means that you have the ability to, again, think of it as E, F sharp, G sharp, A, B, C sharp, D sharp, E, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, major second, major third, perfect fourth, perfect fifth, major sixth, major seventh. Now, why are fourths and fifths perfect? Does anybody know that? Sorry, the graphic is blocking my hands. I can, Mark Turvey, good morning. All right, so hang on a second. We can fix that. Let me unlock that. Let's see what you look like up top here. There we go. Hey, let's do that. Are you gonna disappear on me? There we go. Happy graphic. Okay, Miguel, ¿cómo está mi amigo? Thank you so much. The track sounds killer. Awesome. So, all right, 1, the tracks will be available for you to download. I reached out to my buddy Anil. He said, yes, I can share it. It's his chord progression, this G sharp minor to that C sharp minor thing. In a minute, I'm going to come back and talk about why that's called a G sharp and not an A flat. But the idea is I want to, on a Saturday, what a great day to hang out with my guitar buddies and buddettes. I don't know if there's buddies. Buddies sounds so duty. This is an equal opportunity guitar hang, Sonia. So the point being is that, I don't know, does bud sound masculine? It does to me. Buddies, I don't know. Guitar friends. It's amazing the things that'll come out of my mouth. So the deal is this framework, and you're going to increasingly hear me talk about frameworks, because the ability to kind of thread a needle around this and go, hey, that's kind of my measuring stick. Gosh darn it. Every so often I'm lucky about the things that are lying around. This right here is analogous to, well, you can't see it. I'm playing the screen up there. Oh, my word. I'm having way too much fun. The idea, that bit of business up there is this bit of business down here. E, F sharp, G sharp, A, B, C sharp, D sharp, E, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1. And if we can get used to hearing, so on and so forth, buddettes. Thank you. I appreciate that. You got my back there. All right. Great. I love that photo, by the way, RJ. I hope you're doing great. All right, so who can tell me, if anybody, what makes a perfect fourth and perfect fifth perfect? What's going on, Griffin? There we go. Try aficionados. Pero uno problema. Aficionados y aficionadas. Dos es masculino y as es femenina. Uno problema entonces, and como se dice, the conjugation thereof. But how about Doppler gangers? Let's do that. Gosh darn it. Okay. Anybody? Bueller? So this is one of the really cool things is that if you think about and a minute ago I talked about, as it relates from the root going up to the 7, that is a major seventh. But as we're going backwards from the octave to the 7, that is a minor second. And the short version of this is as follows. Major second, major third, perfect fourth, perfect fifth, major sixth, major seventh as it relates to that interval. This guy right here, major second, we call that a minor second compared to the major second. That's just terminology. Confusing thing about that is if you think about the minor scale and you think about its second note, it is not a minor second. But classical music uses a certain lingo that every so often doesn't totally make sense. And every so often I make some subtle adjustments to that. It's one of the reasons I refer to this as a flat 7. as opposed to a minor 7. If I think about this relationally, I think of that either as as an interval or as a dyad. I think of that as a minor 7th. But on its lonesome, I call it a flat 7. Because if I were to play the major scale at C, the 7th note is B. The Dorian mode, the 7th note is B flat, Phrygian, B flat, Lydian, B, mixed Lydian, B flat, minor, B flat, Locrian, B flat. So the deal is, if you think about the mixed Lydian mode, it has a flat 7, but the type of triad it has is called major. It's just a 1-3-5. So a major triad in combination with a flat 7 is a dominant 7 chord. And the meaning of dominant 7, or I should say just dominant, is the combination of a natural 3 and a flat 7. So that's the bass player could be playing that little bit of business right there. And I can either double that bass note and add the flat 3 and, add the 3 and the flat 7, or I could just be going. Either way, that little bit of business against that bass note, whether I'm playing it or somebody else is playing it, that creates the dominant quality. It's just a combination of a natural 3 and a flat 7. That's what makes a chord dominant. You can have anything else you want to. So, gosh, I'm going to go down the rabbit trail. One of my theory geeks out there is going to love this. So is that a C7 sharp 5 or is it a C7 flat 6? Well, that all depends on what y'all want to play over the top of it. If I kind of went like this, so what I'm doing there is I'm basically going, instead of going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I'm going 1, 2, 3, 4, sharp 5, 6, flat 7, 1. And it's functioning as a sharp 5. But if I go like this, it's functioning as a flat 6 when I play the Phrygian dominant. So if you play a dominant 7 chord, you can play, first of all, a dominant 7 over mixed Lydian over dominant 7. You can play mixed Lydian sharp 5. And you can also, though, over that same chord, even though we're thinking of it now instead of it as a 1 flat 7 3 sharp 5, we're thinking of it as 1 flat 7 3 flat 6. And that's going to be the Phrygian dominant mode because it's a Phrygian mode. Normally the Phrygian mode has a minor triad and a flat 7, but if you take the third note, instead of going, you go, that gives you, instead of playing a minor 7 chord there, minor triad with a flat 7, gives you a major triad with a flat 7. As a minute ago we talked about a combination of a 3 and a flat 7 is what makes it dominant. So instead of playing a minor 7 chord there, you play a dominant 7 chord there. I could have probably explained that a lot easier than that, but I knew what I meant. All right. That's awesome. Okay. Good. All right, so here's the deal. As we begin to look at the nomenclature of this stuff, having this intervallic language to go, okay, well, look, if we just can think about the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 1 of the major scale, if that's the 2, on its own, I'd call that a flat 3. If that's the 3 on its own, I'd call that a flat 3. Did I call that a 2 and flat 2? I hope I did. If that's the 4, I'm going to call that the sharp 4. If that's the 5, I'm going to call that the flat 5. If this is 6, that's a flat 6. If that's a 7, that's a flat 7. Intervallically, that is a major 2nd. Intervallically, that's a minor 2nd. Intervallically, that's a major 3rd. Intervallically, that's a minor 3rd. Perfect 4th, augmented 4th, perfect 5th, diminished 5th, major 6th, minor 6th, major 7th, minor 7th. So anytime you got the 2, 3, 6, and 7, and you lower them a half step, it becomes the minor second. I should say, if you're thinking about it as an interval or as a diet, it becomes a minor second, minor third, minor sixth, minor seventh, regardless of what mode it's from. And that can be confusing as, again, mixolydian mode. If I were to take the C mixolydian mode, some people would say it's just like the major scale with a flat 7. So it means you're going to have a major triad and a flat 7. But if we talked about these two notes as they're played back to back or as a dyad, that's called a minor 7th. And it's really confusing why you would have a mode with a minor 7th, but you play a dominant 7 chord there. Which is why a minute ago I said dominant is really the combination of a natural 3 and a flat 7. Some of the nomenclature, as you move from classical ear training nomenclature to mode stuff, gets a little confusing, which again is why I refer to that little guy right there as a flat 7. Makes it much, much, much easier to unpack that stuff. All right, now, what we want to be able to do is have our ear begin to recognize that little guy right there is a minor second. If I go up to the octave and I go down a half step, that's going from the 1 up an octave to the 7. But if you look at the intervallic distance between those two, they're a minor second apart. So you want to be able to kind of go, hey, oh, I went up to the octave I could hear. That's the octave. First of all, I would suggest, and if you've never done this, just get used to just going and letting your ear get really used to recognizing, and your mouth going octave, 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 octave. So you just kind of go. And we may know that there's a bunch of E's on the neck. Sorry, that was a B. Maybe we don't know. But they fall over and over in octaves. 1 octave apart, 2 octaves apart, 3 octaves apart. And the ability to kind of go, okay, well, regardless of where that is, if I can hear the note that's a half step below it, that's going to be the 7 of the key. The interval between this note and that note is a minor second. But this is functioning as the 7 of the key. And if you can hear where the 1 da da 1 1 7 1 1 flat 7, that's going to tell you that any of the modes that have a flat 7, like Dorian, Phrygian, Mixolydian minor, and Locrian, if that's all you got, as in you can play any of them over the top of that, and that is the moral of the story. Now, the other part of this is, let's get back to this perfect fourth, perfect fifth thing. If I were to go up a major 7th, that's the same thing as going down a minor 2nd. If I were to go up a major 3rd, that's the same thing as going down a minor 6th. If I were to go up a major 6th, it's the same thing as going down a minor 3rd. If I were to go up a major 7th, it's the same thing as going down a minor 2nd. Well, guess what? This bit of perfect business, if we go up a perfect 4th, it's the same thing as going down a perfect 5th. If we go up a perfect 5th, wait for it, it's the same thing as going down a perfect 4th. The reason the 4ths and the 5ths are perfect is they're the only intervals that don't go, for example, if I go from there to there, I'm playing a major 2nd. But if I go, and that is, say, if I go from the 1 to the 2, major 2nd. If I go from the octave, which is the 1 up an octave, down to the 2, that is a minor 7th. Major 2nd, minor 7th. So it's flipping between its major and minoredness. If I were to play a minor 2nd, guess what? Major 7th. Holy cow. Okay, that makes sense. But perfect 4ths, if I ascend a 4th, that's a perfect 4th. If I descend a 5th, it's the same thing. So 4ths and 5ths are the only two intervals that they don't do this weird major and minor flippy thing when you invert them. Now that said, harmonizing these guys is a really big deal. So if I were to take the 1 and the 3, the 2 and the 4, 3 and the 5, 4 and the 6, 5 and the 7, 6 and the 1, 7 and the 2 and the 1 and the 3, I end up with, I'm going to do it here, major, minor, minor, major, major, minor, minor, major. And that's what I'm going to refer to as, especially once I add some secret sauce, call that applied intervals, because what we're doing is we're taking the stuff that we learned and we get here. So let's just say I already went. And then I went. Oh, come on. If you don't have your guitar, go ahead and grab it. I want you to take a quick moment and just think about 1, hold a 2, hold a 3, half to 4, hold a 5, hold a 6, hold a 7, half to 1. Really, all you got to remember is when you get to the 1, 2, 3, you might have seen this symbol before, but missing a few fingers. Maybe not. 3 and 4. Just remember the freeway finger with the other fingers. 1, 2, 3. 3 and 4. That's 5, 6, 7. Oh, that's kind of convenient. 7, and we're back to the freeway finger. So that is to say, that for me is thinking 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1. It's the same thing exactly, because I think about this as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4. Even though we can call it the octave, and some people would call it the 8, I call it the 1, because as we continue on, we're just motoring on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So the idea is think about 1, 2, 3, half to 4, 5, 6, 7, half to 1. So that is to say 3 and 4 and 7 and 1, those are where the half steps are. So you can go 1, well, I guess from the 1 to 2 is a whole step. That's 2 frets, 2 to the 3, whole step. 3 to the 4, half step, 4, whole to the 5, whole to the 6, whole to the 7, half to the 1. So again, half steps occur between 3 and 4 and what? 7 and 1. Again, where would they happen? Between where? 3 and 4 and 7 and 1. Write it down. Text it to yourself. All right, so the deal is, that means that if we can then kind of go, instead of starting off the 1, start off the 3, it's going to be this. 3, half to 4, hold a 5, hold a 6, hold a 7, half to 1, hold a 2, hold a 3. That is, say we start at the 1. There's a 3, half to 4, hold a 5, hold a 6, hold a 7, half to 1, hold a 2, hold a 3, half to 4. If I played the 1, hold a 2, hold a 3, half to 4, hold a 5, hold a 6, hold a 7, half to 1, and the 3, half to 4, hold a 5, hold a 6, hold a 7, half to 1, hold a 2, hold a 3, half to 4 at the same time, I get this. So that is to say, we're just playing 2 different locations in the scale at the same time. But as we follow that diatonic order, we're playing a major third, a minor third, a minor third, a major third, a major third, a minor third, a minor third, and a major third. Now, nice mistake, Mr. Doppler. I should have seen that coming. So if this was a major third, I'm going from the 1 to the 3. Now I'm going to go from the 3 to the 1. That's going to be a minor sixth instead of a major sixth, minor sixth, major sixth, major sixth, minor sixth, minor sixth, major sixth, major sixth, minor, major sixth, minor sixth. Boy, I should know that. Right. Minor sixth, major sixth, major sixth, minor sixth, minor sixth, major sixth, major sixth, minor sixth. So that is say where it went in terms of thirds: major, minor, minor, major, major, minor, minor, major. Now it's going to do the opposite. It's going to go minor, major, major, minor, minor, major, major, minor. Gosh, I've never actually mentally well, hold on a second. Okay, so let me talk about how we can think about this that will be a help. Think about it 2 ways. We can think about this as that's the 1 and the 3 is a major third. We can think about the 1 and its 3 voice, where if I'm thinking about harmonizing this note, I'm thinking about the major scale and its natural 3 up an octave, the major scale and its natural 3 down an octave. Up a 3, that's a major third, down a minor sixth. Then I go up to the 2, that's a minor third. As I move up, that is to say, if I take the 1 and the 3, the 2 and the 4, the 3 and the 5, as I go from the 1 up to the 3, that's going to be a major third. As I go from the 1 down to the 3, that's going to be a minor sixth. As we go from the 2 up to the 4, that's going to be a minor third. If we go up, we go from the 2 to the 4, going down is going to be a major sixth. Minor third, major sixth, major third, minor sixth, major third, minor sixth, minor third, major sixth, minor third, major sixth, major sixth, major third, minor sixth. So it's a kind of a neat way. Gosh, I want to play G there. So let me just explain one thing. You increasingly are going to be inculcated, if you dare, around certain vocabulary. Pattern stuck. Chances are, if you looked at the guitar neck and your hands just kind of went, I don't know, you develop a case of what I call A minor pentatonicidus. You just kind of naturally gravitate to playing the A minor pentatonic scale. There's nothing wrong with that. What's happened is your brain has gotten so used to playing those notes at those locations on the neck. The visual side, that is how most of us learn. We look at the neck and we go to the home, right? As you're driving down your street, you see your house and you pull in the driveway. We've gone home to A more times probably than anywhere else. Not only that, even though it's not played in this key, we don't have to think about it. We just kind of go, all right, there it is. Right? You know. So that muscle memory is just burned into, if you will, our ecosystem. So the thing is, then when we go to play in some key like flipping G sharp, everything's in the flipping wrong place. So the challenge is we've gotten so used to seeing the notes of A minor pentatonic that if we're purely thinking about it visually, we get a little stuck. We get pattern stuck. And so when I went to this G natural, I spent so much time in the key of G. Joe Satriani called it G disease, and I've got it. But I really I should know it's E and G sharp, because that's the 1 and the 3. Because I know it's E, F sharp, G sharp, A, B, C sharp, D sharp, B. So mistakes can actually be really great learning vehicles if you allow yourself to be in a slightly uncomfortable place for the benefit of pushing through that wall. So that is to say, the other thing is you should be able to take this and be able to go, okay, and here, I don't know what happens. The point being, you add a little bit of echo, and all of a sudden, na 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 na, one down, perfect fourth. Sail on, silver girl, sail on, silver girl. 4 4 3 2 1 4 5 3 4 4 3 2 1 4 5 3 da 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 da. Bridge over troubled water, right? So the point being is you're like, whoa. Once you begin to recognize where things are at intervallically and diatonically, you can actually go, as soon as I played that. So the interesting thing is what's happened here, instead of harmonizing things the way I had done it before, I somehow ended up at if I were to take the key of E major and I were to take the first, third, and fifth notes and play them together, that's an E major triad. And if I were to take instead of going 3, 5, there's the 3, it's putting the 5 there, I would have put the 5 there. So I would go basically, instead of this, I'm going to play the inversion of it. Same notes. But now if I play it over E in the bass, that's the 5 and the 3 of an E major chord. That's the 5 and the flat 3 of an F sharp minor. And now what I'm doing is I'm basically playing the 1 chord, I'm playing the 2 over the 1, which normally doesn't sound great. That is, say, if I did it kind of like this, it's a little strange, but with that inversion there, and the funny thing is that every so often our fingers get stupid. I just told you it's the 4, but my brain's like, it heard that note and just go, it's got to be the 1, Doppler. Wait a second, and you just do stupid stuff. I just said 4, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. 4, 4, 3, 2, 4, 4, 3, 2, 1. So what I'm working out in my head is, I'm trying to hear if anywhere in that progression I think it's in Mixolydian. So that's the 5 chord and the 6 chord. All right, in any case, I've gone a little bit down the rabbit trail, but that's the great thing is you begin to unpack intervals that begin to help you understand the story of music. And again, they give us ways to make music. So this little guy right here, play Dorian. Phrygian. Mixolydian. Minor. don't be afraid of the big, bad Locrian mode. All right. So as I mentioned earlier, I will be sharing these. I'm going to put up a link somewhere. The short version is I'm in the process of developing, can let you know, some course material. Mike Rand, great to see you, my friend. Thank you. That is me going straight into the Kali 76 compressor from my good friends at Origin Effects into the MXR Joshua Ambient Echo. Not to be confused with the delay, even though we've determined they're more or less the same thing, but maybe echo is a little bit more ambient, where delay we think about more of a kind of a snappier sound, maybe. Just that is a delay, maybe a little bit more high fidelity, but the same effect is there's the initial note, and then it's delayed and played back with one or more repeats. All right, now that said, and by the way, in case you didn't know, a chorus is a very short delay with modulation. This, by the way, means modulation, in case we hadn't defined that, or it just means Doug's little whoo-hoo. All right, so the deal is, first of all, thank you. Daniel Henry, what's going on? We're talking about intervals. All right. And kind of, they're a great vehicle to be able to build chord progressions and really kind of be able to map things out diatonically. Now, actually, before we leave, no, I'm going to move back over to our, the Anil's mode. No, there we go. That's what we're looking for right there. Yep, we're saving that. Thank you very much. Oh, okay. Hey, Brett, how you doing? Hold on a second. I got to bring that in. The Phrygian mode. It's so angry because of the angry finger. I love that. Oh, and again, hello, Daniel. Nice to see you. Like that photo, my friend. All right, so hang on a second. So getting back over to the Phrygian, no, we're getting over to, there we go, Anil's groove. So this progression, now, just for the sake of conversation, that was a stupid mistake. I'm looking for the tonic that I know is a G sharp. But I guessed, and again, I mentioned before this whole G disease. And if we don't think, wait a second, I'm looking for the, that's a G sharp minor 7. Sorry, that voice, that's the G sharp minor 7, and that is a G minor 11, and that is a C sharp minor 7. So first and foremost, why is it G sharp and not A flat? Well, as we begin to kind of look at, so let's just play a simple minor chord there. As we take a look, if we walked up, if you were to take the key of G major and just kind of go G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, G, and play the first, third, and fifth notes, that is to say, if you took G major instead of going like, you went, and you took the first, third, and fifth notes there, you'd end up with a major chord. If you start off the second degree of that G major scale, instead of going G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, G, you went A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, G, A, and took its first, third, and fifth notes, that would be A, C, D, minor chord. B, D, F sharp, minor chord, C, E, G, major chord, D, F sharp, A, major chord, E, G, B, minor chord, F sharp, A, C, diminished chord, G, B, D, G, B, D, A, C, E, B, D, F sharp, C, E, G, D, F sharp, A, E, G, B, F sharp, A, C, G, B, D. Respectively, that's major, minor, minor, major, major, minor, diminished, major. You can think of that as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1. So the point being, this little bit, if I play that minor chord, it could potentially be functioning as, I'm going to jump back to the key of G for a moment, as the 2, the 3, or the 6. That is to say, if I took the G major scale and started off of its second note, its second degree, that's where I would play a 2 chord. Wait for it. If I started off its third degree and played a chord, that would be the 3 chord. Doesn't matter what I do, as long as the root of that chord is based on the 3rd note of whatever relative major scale is, it's a, wait for it, 3 chord. So you play minor chords at 2, 3, and 6. So heading back to this little bit of business here, out of the gate, we know it's either a 2 chord, 3 chord, or 6 chord. If it were a 2 chord, that would mean you're playing the Dorian mode. If it's the 3 chord, you're playing the Phrygian mode. If it's the 6 chord, you're playing the minor scale. Now, either way, if instead of going like this for Dorian or for Phrygian or that for minor, and I played instead of that, instead of this, I played those same notes over there. And instead of that is the first 3 notes of Dorian. And for those of you that played 3-note string modes, all right, that's the first 3 notes of Dorian, first 3 notes of Phrygian, first 3 notes of minor. So the deal is, regardless of which of those you play, that 3rd note right there, that's screaming, hey, I'm B, nice to meet you. That's B. Down a minor 2nd from B is going to be an A sharp. And down a minor 2nd from A sharp is going to be a G sharp. That's why. So we kind of look at the lay of the land, and if this is G sharp, and that's one of my mode, and just take my word for it, we're in the key of G sharp minor, there's F sharp, and there's E. So the point being is you get these natural notes that are kind of telling you, hey, if I call this A flat, there's A flat, that's going to be B flat, C flat, D flat, E flat, F flat, G flat, A flat. You can get away with it. But if you went to play the A flat Phrygian mode, that is to say, it's not that big a stretch to say, hey, I'm going to be switching from minor to instead of playing minor to Phrygian. Well, guess what? If this is G sharp minor, G sharp, A sharp, B. If it's A flat minor, it's going to be, sorry, let me just start again. I'm going to call this G sharp minor. G sharp, A sharp, B. If it's A flat minor, it's going to be A flat, B flat, C flat. But if this is G sharp Phrygian, it's G sharp, A, and B. If it's A flat Phrygian, it's A flat, B double flat. Doesn't work. So if we're going to do something like a pitch axis where we're saying, hey, we're going to switch from the minor scale, we want to call this a G sharp. And you get, as soon as you start having the ability to add natural notes in there, so that again is if we called this minor scale here, the A flat minor scale, you got A flat, B flat, C flat, D flat, E flat, F flat, G flat, and A flat. So everything in there is all kinds of messed up. You just don't want to be messing with that. If you have the option of being able to go G sharp, A sharp, B, C sharp, D sharp, E, F sharp, G sharp. Much, 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 much cleaner. And again, if you go to do a pitch axis there, that's where that choice becomes much more obvious for those of you that choose to geek out on that stuff. So the point being, that chord is a minor 7. That's another minor 7. You can reduce that down to just a simple minor chord and a minor chord. And the only place you got 2 minor chords a perfect fourth apart is as you're going from the 6th chord up to the 2 chords. So this little bit. Sorry, that's not the 6th chord. That is a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Gosh darn it. I keep wanting to play it at the 5, 6th chord. 2 chord. If I echo that out, now I move it down to G sharp. But now we're going to go like this. Six chord, two chord. And it means Brent Milligan. Hey, Brent, hey, what's going on? Happy late Valentine's Day. I love that photo you put up. Mark, how you doing? Less accidentals in G sharp, easier to rotate, all of the above. Daniel, how you doing? Awesome setup, thank you very much. Brett, so, dude, have you played the Cali 76? Let's put on this G sharp minor business. No, wrong button. All right, so the point being, that little business right there, in the key of G sharp minor. And so I've got some stuff that I'm working on that is going to be course material to help other players. Hey, Andy Guitar, what's going on? Brent, by the way, that's just me going straight into the Cali 76, into the Joshua Ambient Echo. Straight into my UA Apollo. It's very interesting. Well, you know all about going direct, so it's kind of a groovy thing. I'm kind of tripping on it. All right, so Andy Guitar. There we go. Come on. And there we go. So one of the things that I'm doing, Andy, is that I am mapping out which keys diatonically make sense to call what. And so there are some instances where you begin to slice and dice this stuff where you can't work out all the different options. So basically what I'm in the process of doing is mapping all the options and then kind of beginning to see how it goes. But generally, I'm finding that when you group things together and start thinking about how you're going to do a pitch axis over them, that is, say, playing a common root and then switching modes over there, the path of least resistance in terms of the naming schema, both in terms of the roots and then kind of all the other individual scale degree numbers that occur inside each of those modes. And again, for example, you know, as we begin to think about A flat Phrygian, we end up with a B double flat, so we're out of there, right? So for those of you that don't know, as soon as you start naming any one of the modes, major, Oriented, Phrygian, linear, mixed, linear, minor, or Locrian, and the note names, you end up with a double flat or a double sharp, it's out of there. That's kind of breaking one of the rules of classical music theory until you end up with altered scales. And thing like, for example, the harmonic minor, the Phrygian dominant, then the rules get bent a little bit. But as it pertains to just these diatonic modes, any of the modes relative to the major scale, you never have a double sharp or a double flat. All right. That said, did I say something to you? I said I hope you had an awesome Valentine's Day, and I love that photo you put up. It's always a great reminder that people stay together. It's a great thing. I also said I'm going direct into Pro Tools. Actually, no, I'm not going direct. I'm going into Universal Audio interface. That's just the direct signal. adding the Kelly 76, which I'm sure you've used. And adding some special sauce. Great sound. All right. So, so let me get back to the heart and soul of all of this. First of all, want to thank everybody for tuning in. For those that are here, one of the things that I talked about. No, I didn't finish talking about this little bit of business. Let me switch out of here for a quick second. No, you know what? I'm going to keep there for a second. So as we begin to look at these intervallic distance, major second, major third, perfect fourth, perfect fifth, major sixth, major seventh, and then the octave, as we begin to think about motoring anywhere we're playing one of the 7-note scales, if you take a look right there between that open string, I probably could have gone like this a lot easier, that open string right there and the major second and the major third, which you can think of as the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 1, as in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1. And again, the half steps occur between 3 and 4, and the 7 and the 1. Then you can begin to go, oh, okay, 1, 2, 3, 2, 3, 4, 3, 4, 5, 4, 5, 6, 5, 6, 7, 6, 7, 1, 7, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. And if you can recognize by the intervallic distance where you are in the scale, I guess that's a 7, which means that's 7, 1, 2. 1, 2, 3. 2, 3, 4. That's 2, 3, 4. That's going to be 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, sorry. 1, 2, 3. That's a half step. 4, 5, 6, 7, 1. And I can tell what's neat about this is at this point, your fingers, if you get used to Brenton asked a question about learning to kind of do more legato stuff. If you can begin to kind of go, see here, that's off the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1. That's the 1, so that means that's a 7. My half step's going to be right there, 2, 3, 4. Not necessarily the greatest tone for that, but oh, so I played a flat 7, which means I played a D instead of a D sharp. So if you get used to kind of going, okay, well, I'm in the key of E major, kind of spend some time motoring around and kind of go, there's the 5, so that means that's going to be 5, 6, and 7. If your ears and your brain, that's going to be the 2, 3, and 4. Means if I kind of can aim well, just kind of tap on top of my pinky, there's the 4. Now move up to the 5. One of the things that I'm really working on is getting to the point where I can go, okay, well, I can look at the neck. For me, like most guitar players, the indoor of learning is my visual sense. But what I find is that I play it a lot better when I'm looking at the neck. But when I look at the neck, I have a tendency to play the same things repeatedly. When I'm not looking, that is, say, sorry. Oh, I'm playing an A. my hands start to play stuff that my eyes wouldn't have told me to do. And I play in places that I'm not trying to be safe. Like a minute ago, I did this. All right, this time I'm actually going to play. This time I'm actually like, right, that's the G sharp right there. So I'm playing this, it's basically a G sharp minor triad in second inversion, adding the 4. That's 5, 1, flat 3, 5, 1, 4. And then I'm going to that chord. And that's basically is that C sharp minor chord in first inversion, flat 3, 5, 1. And I'm adding the 2. And the neat thing about this is once you kind of begin to have the ability to kind of cross-reference, knowing that that's that's basically my 2 chord right there. You begin to know that, all right, all the things that are true of the 2 mode, we can begin to add to that chord there. So let's just hang out on the 2 here. So I can add color. Sorry about that open string. Now after a while, it wasn't brilliantly X. You go back and hear the against the 2 chord, 3 chord, 4 chord, 5 chord. So it's something that I probably wouldn't have played if I'd been looking at the instrument. The whole point is when your fingers start trying to tell you stuff, it wasn't played perfectly, but I'm learning to kind of be okay with the mistakes because I'm learning to kind of go, well, what would I play if I weren't looking at the neck? By not looking at the neck and starting to play. And I do different things in keys that I wouldn't have normally chosen. And G sharp minor is not one of my first choices. So the point being, as we begin to think about this, I talked about mapping. The idea of beginning to go, okay, well, if I played this as the major scale, it'd be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1. So we're going to call it A flat major scale. A flat, B flat, C, D flat, E flat, F, G, A flat. And that allows me to kind of see those notes there. This is a crappy key to have done this in. But as we look at minor, we're going to call it G sharp, A sharp, B. That gives us an F double sharp. It's one of those keys that, as Andy pointed out, it flips around. All right, we're just going to learn to think about this as scale degree numbers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1. Minor scale is 1, 2, flat 3, 4, 5, 6, flat 7, 1. I played Dorian there. I need to play minor. Instead of going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1. And the deal is I heard that I went, sorry, I played the natural 6. That is to say, I heard that where it should have been a major second down there and a major second there, I played a minor second. That's where these intervals, that is to say the next door notes, being able to recognize how far that's supposed to be. Why am I playing Phrygian? Here's minor. There it is. Not losing my mind totally. There it is. And what I'm training myself to do, and I'm not great at it yet, is be able to go, hey, that's the 1, 2, and a flat 3. 2, flat 3, 4. Flat 3, 4, 5. 4, 5, flat 6. 5, flat 6, flat 7. Flat 6, flat 7, 1. Flat 7, 1, 2. 1, 2, flat 3. And that sense, now you're learning to... being able to take that across the neck. And recognize it by touch. Now, not necessarily be the most musical thing, but it's learning to develop that by the sense of touch. Basically, that's kind of, if you will, that's the 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 as it relates to the relative major scale. So I'm playing the key of G sharp minor. That's functioning as the 6 of its relative major, B major. The point being is that if you can hear and begin to feel where those notes are going to be instead of just having to see them, which I would be, first of all, I would arguably that's a wacky key visually until you kind of get used to doing it. So it's interesting. I can actually play it easier not looking at the neck, which is the moral of the story. All right. Eric, great to see you. Have a great one. There we go. Oh, and yes, these are awesome, dude. I just love it. This is the stacked edition, and I absolutely love it. All right, now, so what I'm going to be doing, and I took the long way there, this progression. I'm thinking G sharp, A sharp, B, C sharp, D sharp, E, F sharp, and G sharp. So yes, that's the same notes as in B major, but I want to be thinking about harmonically what's happening at G sharp. That is to say, if G sharp is if we think about the key of G sharp minor, it's functioning as the 6th note of B major, but I'm really thinking of this as, even though if you think about the 7 modes, as I like to refer to as 7 pea pods on a vine, when we open up the 6th pea pod and we're to compare those 6 peas to the peas as they fall of the major scale, instead of going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, the minor scale goes 1, 2, flat 3, 4, 5, flat 6, flat 7, 1. So the point being is that now I want to be able to kind of go, okay, well, that is G sharp, A sharp, B, C sharp, D sharp, E, F sharp, and G sharp. And now I'm going to begin to paint the neck with those notes. And now I'm looking for those notes, hunting them down. Because again, you know, we those of us that spent a lot of time in, I don't know, A minor. We know where those natural notes are. This business, then everything's in the wrong place. So we then have to begin to track things so they aren't in the wrong place. G sharp, A sharp, B, C sharp, D sharp, E, F sharp, G sharp. So we can hang out starting there. So now I'm at the D sharp, E, F sharp, G sharp, A sharp, B, C sharp, D sharp. Sorry about that, Ben. There's my G sharp, A sharp, B, C sharp, D sharp, E, F sharp. So I played an A instead of an A sharp. All right, this is not necessarily the best wheedly tone. Start looking for the notes by name, right? There is my C sharp, D sharp, E, F sharp, G sharp, A sharp, B. You also begin to recognize them by sound. Flat 7, 2, 1. That's the 2, this is my flat 3. And so doing, you map the neck. All right, so let's see here. Okay, so first of all, does anybody have any questions? Not all at once. Okay. So, hey, what's going on? I didn't get a chance to reply to anybody here. Let me make sure that I'm doing that now. And, all right. One of the things that I was going to talk about, first of all, is anybody still there actively at their keyboard? Give me a holler. So I know sometimes some folks have a tendency to kind of be doing stuff in the background and whatnot. But give me a holler if you're hey, Doppler, hey, you. Give me a holler. And if not, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to wind this thing down. Now, I threatened to talk about some other stuff, but I think people have got their Saturdays to attend to. Ah, okay. Hey, okay. There we go. Well, thanks, guys. All right. Well, on that note, let's talk about this. All right. Well, first of all, as some of you know, First of all, guys, thanks for hanging out. This past 2 weeks ago today, I had a chance to hang out with a few guys and do a few things on guitar. And so what I figured I would do, especially for those of you, I'm really, really, really glad. David, always a pleasure. Chris, thank you, and Griffin. So we're going to have a little bit of a hang here and talk a little bit about, let's get over here. Come on, there we go. About that little night that happened a few weeks ago. So 2 weeks ago tonight, which sounds really strange to say, I got a chance to obviously sit in with this interesting bunch of characters. Where's Mr. Vi? There we go. So, and I learned a bunch of things that night in terms of both preparing and whatnot. But let's start with the kind of the fun part because y'all are my peeps. So let's go there. So what's really neat is that I kind of got a text from my buddy Gary Brower. Thanks, David. Much appreciated. Just saying, hey, actually, so the story, hang on, let me switch to this real quick, and I'll tell you a little bit about the story about how all this kind of came together. There we go. So about 5 days before the show, I got a message, an email from Joe Satriani saying, hey, are you going to be in town? Would you like to come to the show? And I'm like, I think something's afoot. So I was like, yeah, love to. That'd be awesome. A day goes by, 2 days go by, 3 days go by, and literally it's the 2 days before. No, we'll pick up the 9-stringers at the end, and we will come back to 9-stringers for sure. But let's hang out here for a second and talk about. And thank you for reminding me. Hang on a second. Let me make a little note. And we will not forget about 9 strings. 9 strings. I'll see you and raise you 3 strings. So then 2 days before the show, Joe's like, hey, would you like to jump up for a couple of songs? And it's like, I'll be supplying the guitar and the amp. They are in E flat. I've played through Joe's rig before, so I was comfortable. But the idea is it made it really easy after Joe, Eric, and Steve did their 3 songs together for Vic Johnson, who plays with Sammy Hagar, and myself to kind of come up. So that's the story of kind of what happened in the background. Now we can kind of jump over to some of the photos here that are kind of some of the fun part for me that I'm thrilled to be able to share with you. So I get a text. I'm sitting upstairs, and I get a text from my buddy Gary Brower, and he's like, hey, Joe wants you downstairs. So this photo is about 2 seconds after I got down there. I came through that door there, it's on the left there, and Joe literally, he was sitting down on the couch right behind me there, got up, gave me a hug, pulled the guitar off his shoulder, and put it around me. And well, as you can see, I was not bashful about playing Joe's guitar. Everybody else is paying attention to something else. I'm just having a good old time playing away. Thanks, Chris. You're a gem. So it's a funny thing. So there were a couple of really neat things that happened over the course of this. So first of all, you can't see it in this photo, and I actually managed to not pull it into the slideshow, but you may have seen something on the web about a special amp that's being made for Joe by Delana from Third Power, and it's basically an amp that will, in theory, allow Joe to play the different eras of Sammy songs, from Montrose to Van Halen to Chickenfoot, and obviously Sammy's hits. So I'm actually playing through the prototype there, having a good old time, as you can probably tell. This next moment here, I've played rhythm guitar behind Steve, but I've never actually kind of soloed on stage at the same time as Mr. Vi. And so I kind of walked out. I know Steve from many, many years. Joe gave me his phone number when I went down to Los Angeles in what I believe is 1985. So, I kind of came out and Steve just kind of turned around and extended his hand. I'm holding the pick there for dear life because I didn't want to let go of it. And I went to fist bump him, and he grabbed my hand, which was really lovely. That moment, if my face could say it all, my face is saying it all. You can see the smile on Steve's face. It was really lovely. Now, Chris, to your point, if you look immediately below, and it's going to be really small, especially if you're on a mobile device, below my left hand there, you're actually going to see the slide on top of one of Joe's Marshalls. And so all day, I had my slide in my pocket. It's a funny thing. I don't know if you've ever been fixated on, something that's, arguably part of your normal day, but I had that slide with me in my hip pocket, and I kept checking it to make sure it hadn't fallen out, which is the stupidest thing, because once you got a slide in your pocket, it's not going anywhere. But I kind of put it back there just in case. I wasn't sure I was going to use it, and we'll talk a little bit more about the prep time in a bit. All right, so this little moment here is just kind of what's really neat is that if you take a look at Joe's left hand and my left hand, although they're not identical, the hand position is very, very similar. So we're playing the lick from Foxy Lady, but it's just so neat. You can see Vic is, got his thumb around the top of the neck there, but Joe and I, it's just like the pinky is just kind of in that same moment of kind of like, all right, this is where we're headed. And it's just kind of really neat to look at that photo and go, holy cow. Vic is an amazing singer, Chris. Holy cow, he's great. It was so funny. It's just like kind of part of the, let's see if I can do this without breaking anything. There we go. Hold on, let's do that. So part of the whole thing that happened is Joe was saying, well, Vic, do you want to sing? And what do you want me to sing? Foxy Lady, and he kind of opened his mouth, and we all kind of turned around, and Joe was like, yep, you'll be singing. So in any case, wrong slide. There we go. So yeah, Vic has an amazing voice. I'd never realized how great he sang, but holy cow. All right, so there on this one, no, I got to be on the right thing. There we go. I knew it was going to happen at some point. So there is obviously an F sharp, which again gets to this whole mapping of things. I'm kind of in, and I can tell by the photo number and by the fact I'm down at F sharp there. That's Foxy Lady. And this little bit right here is kind of one of the kind of key things about all of this that I wanted to talk to is the idea of being able to memorize where you are by touch on the instrument so you don't have to, well, wait for it, be looking at the neck the entire time. And then when you do, you kind of, what you're looking for as opposed to having to kind of pay attention to the thing the whole time. And again, now at this point, that's going down because I can tell I'm in C. This right here is an interesting moment, and it's one of my favorite moments because obviously kind of I was sitting there kind of right next to Joe. And right about there, I'm playing rhythm. Dude, the funny thing is that was all about I am there to absolutely show my respect for these guys. So I appreciate that you appreciate that because it was like, I am but the humble grasshopper. So the neat thing is that Vic is soloing, and right around this moment, I kind of look around and I kind of notice Eric's not playing rhythm, Steve's not playing rhythm, and Joe's not playing rhythm. I'm the only person playing rhythm behind Vic Johnson. And Joe kind of looks over, kind of out of, hey, what's going on, Andrew? What's happening, my man? Kind of out of the corner of his eye and gives me this little smile. At about the same moment that I realize and he realizes that I realize that he realizes I'm the only one playing rhythm with Brian Beller there and Kenny Aronoff behind, and kind of one of the things that traditionally happens if you've got good stage etiquette. And arguably I didn't, but people drop out and let the guy, have some audio bandwidth to do that in. But the funny thing is I looked around, I'm like, I'm the rhythm guitar player here. But it was a really important part of it because there we go, speaking of Kenny Aronoff. So the funny thing is that, I am, I think like everybody, a huge Kenny Aronoff fan. And I kind of headed backstage afterwards. And Kenny kind of was like, hey, dude, blah, 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 and had all these wonderful things to say, and we broke into this conversation about Mahavishnu Orchestra, and it turns out Kenny is a shredder. That is to say, he's a huge Billy Cobham and Narada Michael Walden fan. So we launched into this conversation about great drummers and, which version of Mahavishnu Orchestra. So we just had this really very unexpected bonding moment, which I pretty much I'm still pinching myself over because he's just such an amazing drummer. Yeah, he's crazy famous, but he just plays so amazingly well. Ironically, other than at the guitar camps, this is the third, and only that it was third in sequence of the night. I think that's only the third photo Joe and I have ever been in together. So I had Melissa grab the phone and I was like, honey, can you snap a photo of me and Joe? So, which was really neat. And then made sure to get a moment with Eric, which is really neat. He was absolutely lovely. And gosh, can that guy play? Holy cow. We've got a moment with Ray Thistlethwaite, I guess is how it's pronounced. Try and spell that. And then we've got ZZ. First of all, Ray, hold on, let's give some props to Ray. Second guitar and keys with Joe, and the guy is an insane talent. That right there is ZZ, who I've had the pleasure of getting to know, and I just adore that kid. And as some of you probably know, he was playing on Summer Song in LA. He sat in with Joe, which I think is so cool. Oh, there you go. Yep, come on. Real fans. Amazing. Absolutely amazing. And then here we've got the infamous Brian Beller, and then we've got Dante Frisiello, and Beller's photobombing us in the background there. Look at those guns on that kid. I actually felt the guns. I had to kind of grab a hold of those. Just because, that kid plays great. In case you don't know, he's Steve's second guitar player. Lovely young man and plays the daylights out of the guitar and also is shockingly handsome. So in any case, so here's the thing. I wanted to share kind of some of the stuff around preparing for this because I think one of the things, let me get over, come on, there we go, get over to the right. There we go. That's what I'm looking for. I'm aiming for that. So if we were to make the analogy of this interval thing, to being able to kind of map out kind of what you're thinking as you're working in a particular key. The whole thing with Foxy Lady. Played a little bit of that wrong. Hang on a second. Let me play that again. There we go. Let's turn off that delay noise right there. So the Hendrix never plays the same thing the same way twice. And so part of what you're doing when you're going to play a song with somebody, especially when it's their version, they always walked up A, B, C, D flat. And technically, what's happening is going 1, the octave, flat 3, 4, flat 5, 5. So ironically, I probably should have called that. It's a D double flat. So that's interesting. So it's really going A, B. No. I've lost my mind. My bad. Sorry. F sharp, A, B, C, C sharp. My bad. So C is the flat 5. C sharp is the 5. So, the first thing is to go, let me make sure I'm going to play it the way the guys are playing it. So the first thing... So one of the times Hendrix plays, he goes... He doesn't go... And the other thing is the first time... one could be inclined to hit that just once. But as I went back and studied the different live performances that I've seen of these guys doing, so I was like, okay, that's the way I'm going to play it. And I sat there, and spent a lot of time playing with my fingers, and actually one of the things that I'm working on is some exercise that I'll probably go over next week on some tips on how to get playing with your fingertips if you're not used to doing that. And that, for those of you that have been kindly stuck around, if you were to take the first 4 notes of that F sharp minor pentatonic, it would be thumb plucking that F sharp, hammer onto the A, first finger plucking that B, and the third finger hammering onto that C sharp, and then on the way back down, you pluck that with the first finger, pull off, thumb, pull off. So since you were kind enough to hang out, have some fun with that. You can also go. So that's just taking each pair of notes for the F sharp minor pentatonic. Sorry, each pair of strings. And going pick, hammer, and then starting from the 5th string, pick, hammer, starting from the 4th string. But instead of using the pick, and then beginning to integrate that. And just hang out on each pair. You can also just ascend and just descend. So the idea is when you start ascending and descending on a common pair, there are some notes that are close together in terms of multiple thumbs or multiple first fingers, which is why it's easier initially. Just focus on one direction. Then once you're comfortable with that, so you could go 4 times ascending, 4 times descending, 2 times ascending, 2 times descending, and then 1 time.
For how long?
Well, Siri.
I will not then.
Siri just jumped in. I don't know if that made it through the broadcast, but I heard it in my ears. That was scary. Okay. Thanks, Siri. Go away. All right. So okay. So the deal is, getting back to this thing, as I was practicing this thing, I really wanted to be conscious of the fact that F sharp and that open G string, we don't want to be going. So I started off just spending some time just learning to play it with my fingers, such that there was no way that I was going to get, not only do you have that open G string there, if you're not careful as you go to play with that 4th finger there, it wants to bar across there. I would love to, my friend. Look forward to it, my dear friend. So the deal is, one of the things that I'm going to presume everybody here knows that I'm working on is this 15 minutes fundamental thing. It's going to be a course that's going to, in the period of 15 minutes, you can run through all the things that I think are important to know here, and here, and have some practice methodology around it. And one of the things I'm almost guaranteed to put in there, because it takes all of about 2 seconds to run through it, is the alphabet of chords. And that little pull off there is exactly why this bit. Now, the compressor. No. That's the other thing. When you're plugged straight in. So right now, it's me. Chris, was it you that asked, do I play with a clean tone and no effects? I think it was, yeah. This is nothing on the guitar. And I'm kind of loving it because it really, it hears that unwanted pull off. The point being is that in the alphabet of chords, and I think I just proved it to myself, you're learning to be able to go, all right, there's A, muting all the strings, B, muting all the strings. So we're aiming 5th through the 1st, 5th through the 1st, 5th through the 1st, 4th through the 1st, 6 through the first, 4 through the first, 6 through the first, 5th through the first. And then that right hand in between chords comes down on the strings, so you don't get that bit. So it's, you go through it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4. So you're done with that. But the point being is that little bit, what I learned, nothing to hide behind, dude. It's honestly, at first I love a challenge, because here's the thing is that I have the privilege of working with guys like you. And the more that I kind of can hopefully go, well, all right, there's nothing to hide behind, but I don't know, let me go for it. The more that, we collectively will kind of encourage each other, because, one of the things that I'm increasingly realizing is so important to me, and I think important to you guys, and I don't necessarily have the full download on how I'm going to do it, but I know Saturday mornings is a key part of that, is really building and nurturing the community of people that I have the pleasure and privilege of working with every week. So the point being is that, what can I do on top of that? Also, I've got a lesson that's going to start in a little under 10 minutes. I'm creating a community in this thing called Kajabi, which is where the course material that I'm working on, this 15-minute fundamentals, is actually going to live. The 9-string question, I've got it written up over there, but thank you very much. Very kind of you, Chris. The point being is that's going to be the place where I'm going to leave the backing tracks, and people will cost your email address, but it also means that we can be in touch and I can kind of share stuff. In this particular moment, I do not feel like doing a Patreon thing, because one is I want to make sure that the content that I want to produce that is not behind a paywall, people can get to without having to pay to it. And that's what I love about Saturdays. We do this for free, and the course material, it's the same sort of thing that my students pay for. It's a different type of an interaction. So in any case, this whole preparation for this song, then learning to kind of go, okay, I'm getting comfortable with laying my pinky down in such a way I'm not letting the open G string ring, and I'm not barring across that C. And so I went from me get to see there, and then I started, so that was pretty good there. So that's me, instead of doing it with the fingers, where I've got a much better aim doing it with the pick. Griffin, careful what you ask for. So in any case, the idea is that you nurture the parts. The other thing is that at the beginning of this thing, I'm hanging out, and it's a funny thing is that I think of it, I'm thinking the 5, because they're kind of there's a whole little harmony that's being created. Somebody's playing the root, somebody's playing the flat 3, and I went for the 5. So at the top, you can kind of see I'm kind of there. But the thing to do is to make sure as you're focusing on Joe and Steve and you're doing the swell into that note, I need to be in the bridge position. You're not so busy looking at Joe and Steve that you're not paying attention to Kenny back there, because so as soon as I kind of got the note going, I'm turning to my left, kind of going, okay, when's Kenny going to do it? It's because I want to make sure I nail that downbeat, because if I miss that downbeat, then I'm potentially like, So I spent a bunch of time just like on YouTube, just running back and watching how he walked into this thing, and quite often he'll do a different fill going into the top of the song. But I got used to just kind of, all right, this is what I'm going to do when I'm watch Kenny going into this section. I also made sure that, I kind of counted the number of times that, foxy lady, and then, so it's kind of, so Eric, was also kind of doing a thing like that. But they were playing people. By the way, if we think about it as scale degree notes, that's 1, flat 7, 4. But you can also think about it as intervals. Major second, perfect fifth, the distances between where those things are at. I'm playing that E major in first inversion. And then I'm playing that B major in first inversion. I don't know what I just played there. But the point, and the one thing that I practiced for, and I did that pretty well there, to the point where I don't have to. Where I could be playing it by muscle memory. I didn't want to have my face down in the guitar in that moment. I really, 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 really wanted to have my head in the game. Thank you, David. You guys hopefully will be part of that because that means a lot. And this is a big deal to me. It's a huge deal to me. All right. Gosh darn. So, and the point being is that that song is in F sharp Dorian. So the last thing before I answer very quickly this whole kind of I'm not thinking of that as E major. That is the relative major. E, F sharp, G sharp, A, B, C sharp, D sharp, E. But it certainly didn't hurt to be able to go, well, okay, if I were to think about the relative major, it's E, F sharp, G sharp, A, B, C sharp, D sharp, E, because that allows me to reference those notes on the high E string. However, yeah, I want to think of it as 1, 2, flat 3, 4, 5, 6, flat 7, 1. So F sharp, G sharp, A, B, C sharp, D sharp, E, F sharp. So I forced myself to really kind of think about the notes that way so I could really be really conscious. I realize this isn't the grooviest tone, but that way I was kind of keyed into that. Same thing when we got to and I also then went, okay, what's happening with the harmony for the what basically is going flat 3, 2, 1, flat 7. So I made a mental note to myself in the midst of all the stuff that's going around. That's 1, flat 7, 5, sliding to the 4, flat 3, 1. And then the harmony is flat 3, 2, 1, flat 7. If I could think of it as flat 3, 2, 1, flat 7, I wasn't going to get derailed. So that was a big part of how it happened. Now, as it turns out, when I finished the slide, so this is the one, I'm 90% positive this is the one it is, because if you look, it catches the light just right. It's got a crack on it. So kind of one of my favorite things was like the... It was a little fast for a slide thing, but I didn't want to play slide on the first hole. I didn't know which song they were going to do first. I would have preferred to play slide over. Over Foxy Lady. But then the idea is I flung the slide, and the goal was to make sure it did not roll back in some place that Mr. Satriani could have a topple on that. Bad etiquette. So it was a particular flick, and I can tell which slide it is because it's got this crack. So I will keep this thing near and dear. Got a little treasure box that used to belong to my dad. It's like a little baby private treasure box, and the things that are near and dear to me go in that box. That's headed there. So the point being is that then I went into this other, but there was a moment my brain malfunctioned and I went into F sharp. If you watch the video of that, hey Chris, what's going on? Playing through Joe's rig, kind of walked up and made at it. Great to see you, my friend. So the thing is, there was a moment my brain I was up here and my brain went into F sharp Dorian. If you listen to the going down thing, you can hear it. Awesome. You can hear it, and it just for a moment I kind of caught myself. I'm like, I'm in C Dorian, and I pulled myself back out of it. But it's one of those situations. There's all sorts of stuff going on, and every so often you can just get distracted. And one of the things that happened. It's just for a moment. I kind of wandered. All right, I've got to get to my student, but this whole thing about if I were to pick up a 9-string, this happened with the 8-string. I think of all extended range instruments as a 6-string guitar with extra strings. That's how I always play it. Same thing when I play a 5-string bass, simply because it allows me to think to do all the things that I normally would do on a 6-string, but have the ability to have additional, what I have a tendency to think of as rhythm strings. There's an 8-string Ibanez that's floating around here. I have not possessed a 9-string. I'm, a Gibson guy these days, so I did go out and buy. I hunted it down. It came from Poland. I hunted down an Epiphone 7-string that put some DiMarzio pickups in it. It's a pretty wicked little guitar, in a good way. Sorry, but the point being is that instrument enables me to have something with an extended range instrument. Those Epiphone, what do they call that? Nah. But that is those guitars that I've got. They're actually 24 fret necks, but I've got the pair of them that I've got. They're both tuned down to C sharp for a song that's on the forthcoming instrumental album, and I just needed something that was extended range. I felt the need to have that. So that's one of the other things that if you're kind of like, well, I don't want to get go out and buy a 7-string. Maybe you've got a guitar that is a good candidate to tune down, as I did with those two instruments. All right. I've got to get to my student. Thank you so much for hanging out today. What a pleasure and a privilege. Griffin, you never know, beta tester. So Melissa and I have already had a conversation. There's going to be probably a test version of the 15-minute fundamentals that people are going to get. Chris, thank you. And everybody my students and the people that have been part of the guitar camps by virtue of being part of the guitar camps. That's where I know you from. They're included in that group. And so stay tuned. Tom, thank you so much, my dear friend. Great to see you. I look forward to seeing y'all next Saturday. Thanks again for hanging out.